to talk about these California wildfires, it is so unfortunate to watch a whole swath of the nation just literally go up in smoke. Anytime there's some sort of natural disaster, we mourn for our fellow Americans. But a natural disaster like a hurricane, that's the sovereignty of God at work. Like, that's his majesty and his wrath and his power and his greatness, as all those attributes all wrapped up in one. Like, I'm not messing with the sovereign God of the universe. What's happening over in California is not a natural disaster. What we're witnessing happening in California is literally negligence and liberal policies just playing themselves out in the fullness of time. And I know y'all just be like, she always ragging on liberals and progressives. That's because they stupid. They make stupid decisions. They cannot govern. They cannot lead. Under their leadership, there's nothing but chaos and disaster and destruction and death. There's nothing positive to talk about. So when I talk about this story, yes, I have to implicate progressivism. I have to implicate leftism and its stupidity and poor leadership, because that's all this is negligence. So let me go ahead and I want to share with you, if you guys don't already know, there are wildfires set just blazing all up and down the West Coast, particularly in the Pasadena area of California. I want to play a clip of soon-to-be President Trump giving his take on it. And then we're going to kind of hear from the mayor of Los Angeles, but not really. And then I want to play another clip of CNN's delusional take on this, and then we're just going to engage with all of it. So.
And he didn't want to sign it, but it's not going to happen again like that.
And do you believe that federal aid should be provided to California for as long as it takes?
Well, it's very sad, because I've been trying to get Gavin Newsom to allow water to come. You'd have tremendous water up there. They send it out to the Pacific because they're trying to protect a tiny little fish, which is in other areas, by the way, called a smelt. And for the sake of a smelt, they have no water. They had no water in the fire hydrants today in Los Angeles. It was a terrible thing. And we're going to get that done. It's going to finally be done. I got it done from the federal side. And he didn't want to sign it, but it's not going to happen again like that. There's no reason. Can you imagine? You have farmers that don't have any water in California. They have plenty of water. They don't have a drought. They send it out to the Pacific, and it's crazy. So what's happening in California is a true tragedy. I know those areas very well. I have many friends living in those houses. That is a true tragedy. Nobody ever thought. I mean, virtually Beverly Hills and areas around Beverly Hills are being decimated. The biggest homes, some of the most valuable homes in the world are just destroyed. I don't even know. You talk about a tax base. If those people leave, you're going to lose half your tax base of California. This is a true tragedy, and it's a mistake of the governor, and you could say the administration. They don't have any water. They didn't have water in the fire hydrants. They don't have water, and yet they have. The water comes from the
phase. We're in the public safety phase.
I hate to even ask this question, but the president-elect chose to attack you, blame you for this.
One can't even respond to it. I mean, it's people are literally fleeing. People have lost their lives. Kids lost their schools. Families completely torn asunder. Churches burned down. This guy wanted to politicize it. I have a lot of thoughts, and I know what I want to say. I won't. I stood next to a president of the United States of America today, and I was proud to be with Joe Biden, and he had the backs of every single.
Well, Gavin, we needed you to say something, but you didn't. That was President-elect Donald Trump giving his very blunt and just raw, in-your-face commentary that we need. We need a leadership that's going to be like, listen, these people are idiots. These fools is out here. The whole California state, this section of the state is burning up because these fools out here trying to protect one fish, the smelt. They have no water. Their climate change, y'all, let me tell you what this is all about. This is about, when I say that the left does not care about America or Americans, they don't. They care about the special interest people. So, for example, if there's a situation. Let's take the situation in California, right? There's a problem with a deforestation problem. This is the problem. The problem is deforestation, where they don't want to clean the brush and the debris that would be considered an accelerant if in the event a wildfire was sparked or started, right? What a Democrat will do, they will know that this is the problem. But the moment that a climate activist says, we can't cut down trees or we can't do this because of climate change, what do you think the Democrats going to do? Are they going to go with what makes sense, that's going to protect the people and keep people safe? Or are they going to go with whatever it is the climate change activist says needs to be done? What y'all think? They're going to go with the climate activists. That demonstrates to you, they can tell you that they love you all day long, but the application of their policies woefully demonstrate that they hate you and they don't care about you. All they care about are their special interests. So this situation is very unfortunate. There are some people in the chat that are saying, I believe, or it has been said that these fires were started on purpose. That's possible. I really believe this is a matter of negligence and an inability to recognize this is a problem, and then let's come up with a solution. Democrats are not very good at coming up with solutions. They're good about complaining about problems and focusing on things that don't matter. Like, they will major in the minors. But the things of utmost importance, they are just completely clueless on. Notice how Gavin Newsom never engaged with the problem. He's just mad that Donald Trump pointed out the problem and blamed him. And instead of him accepting responsibility for it, all he could do was say was, I was standing next to, President Biden, and I was glad to stand next to him. Well, of course you would. That's because Biden don't know where he coming or going. Of course you would prefer to be standing next to Biden. He's not going to hold you accountable for your negligence. So this story is all a matter. It's a reflection of failed policies and people putting this climate change agenda ahead of what matters, which is we have a deforestation issue. We need to clean up the brush. Why? Because if there is a drought, we don't want the brush to be considered an accelerant. Well, here's the deal. There has been no drought. California has had plenty of rain, but the lefticals in charge let it all go into the Pacific Ocean. So now that there's a fire, they don't have the water readily available to put out the fire. So they're just letting it all burn. Now, the question is, what have they been spending money on, time, and attention on? They've been spending their money, time, and attention on. They've been putting their money, time, and attention on making sure that they have diversity. Right? DEI. We want to make sure that we hire as many lesbians, as many women, as many peg leg people as possible in all areas of government, because those are the things that are going to help us fight fires and govern our municipalities well. Make that make sense. Y'all, I am so tired and frustrated with these people who perpetually demonstrate with their actions that they hate America and that they will do whatever it takes to tear the country up. Because under their leadership, every day is something else that they done screwed up. So the reason why DEI is relevant in this whole discussion is because you have the LA Fire Department spent a considerable amount of money and a considerable amount of attention purposely recruiting not individuals that are qualified. No, they care more about who these people sleep with. So if you're a lesbian sleeping with women, munching on carpets, yes, we want to hire you to lead our department. And I know the common sense person out there might be like, well, I don't understand why that's relevant. It's not. It doesn't have to be. But for the purpose of this discussion, to the leftists, that's all that matters, because they see everything from a lens of ethnicity and sexuality and orientation and gender. Everything is about a construct. I saw someone in the live chat said it's just Marxism. This is the worldview that undergirds the left is so destructive, because it's definitely illogical, and it doesn't solve any problems. And all it does is leave behind in its wake is destruction and chaos. Some of these homes, they may never be able to rebuild. Do you want to know why? California, because of its leftist policies and progressivism, is already having an issue with insurers insuring property in the state. Why? Because of regulation. One, it's not profitable to insure homes on the West Coast anymore because of this negligence that could have been prevented, but also that regulations where the government is saying, in order to do business here, you got to do this, you got to do this, and you got to do this. And insurers are like, oh, now we're pulling out. State Farm has pulled out. So many companies are pulling out. Well, what do you think happens if an insurance company pulls out of a state? Where are people supposed to get their insurance? Who's supposed to underwrite the insurance to protect these properties now that there's been a fire? And most recently, a lot of insurance companies have non-renewed a lot of these policies. And if, let's say, you're one of these homes where your policy just got non-renewed and you were in the process of shopping around for new coverage, and because of the regulations in California, you've not been able to secure coverage yet. There are stories where people have gone to the insurance commissioner in California like, hey, we have a problem here. No one wants to insure our property. What are we supposed to do? And it's almost like California can't figure out why people are fleeing the state. They're fleeing the state, one, they can't afford a house. And then if they actually buy or start the process to buy a house, a lot of these deals fall apart at closing once they find out how much it costs to insure the daggone house. They're like, the whole deal is done now. I can't pay more in property taxes or in principal and interest on insurance. This is a problem that snowballs into other problems because of leftist progressive policies. They are oppressive, they are expensive, they are illogical, and they do not work. They just don't work. And so why did I bring up the whole DEI thing? Well, the fire commissioner and the chief and some other person, all three of these people have something in common. They're all female and they're all lesbians. You're like, wow, I never knew that being a lesbian helped you do your job better. Who knew? Who knew that being a lesbian just made you more equipped to do a job?
Now, the current head of the LAFD is Kristen Crowley, and here's what she had to say about her diversity goals.
She took time out of her already busy schedule to tell us about her vision for the department's future, one that includes a 3-year strategic plan to increase diversity.
People ask me, well, what number are you looking for? I say, I'm not looking for a number. It's never enough.
Now, you might not think this is a big deal. After all, who's going to get upset about wanting more diversity? But in practice, when you have scarce resources and you have a secondary priority, that secondary priority can get in the way of the first, especially in an environment where there's scarce resources and your department has lost $17.6 million in budget and needs to make sure that every dollar is allocated to the most important needs. You might even think that, okay, we can have diversity be first and merit be a tiebreaker, but that's not actually what's happening in practice. 3 of the top women at LAFD are all lesbians, and given the minority percentage of lesbians in the overall population in LA, the chances of that happening by chance and purely on merit are 1 in 64,000. Or near zero. Meanwhile, the head of equity made almost $400,000 in base pay when her job is primarily to focus on diversity when they don't have enough money to even effectively do their job. On top of that, the head of equity, Christine Larson, makes more than the second in command, John O'Brien, despite the fact that he outranks her. Now, it's all well and good to say that efficacy is your top priority and that you're not going to compromise on that, but the money reveals your actual priorities. Moreover, if you hear Christine Larson talk in this clip, you'll see where qualitatively they're actually focused.
You want to see somebody that responds to your house, your emergency, whether it's a medical call or a fire call, that looks like you. It gives that person a little bit more ease, knowing that somebody might understand their situation better. Is she strong enough to do this? Or you couldn't carry my husband out of a fire, which my response is, he got himself in the wrong place if I have to carry him out of a fire.
Does that sound like the rhetoric of someone who is laser focused on saving lives?
They asked her, so like, how many are you trying to put in this position? She was like, there's no number. As many as I can. Right? And now that this has happened, they're all sitting back looking stupid because nobody know what to do. Now, speaking of diversity, equity, and inclusion, I want you guys to hear from the mayor of LA. Well, kind of, sort of. Because we're supposed to hear from her, but that ain't kind of what happens. But y'all take a listen to this.
Do you owe citizens an apology for being absent while their homes were burning? Do you regret cutting the fire department budget by millions of dollars, Madam Mayor? Have you nothing to say today? Have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today? Elon Musk says that you're utterly incompetent. Are you considering your position? Madam Mayor, have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today who are dealing with this disaster? No apology for them? Do you think you should have been visiting Ghana while this was unfolding back home?
Unbelievable. At first I'm sitting here like, does she got Parkinson's? Is she having like a brain fart? Like, why is she just sitting there like, I mean, she was just sitting there with this dumb blank look on her face with nothing to say. I mean, even if a reporter's in your face and he's asking you a question you don't want to answer, the least you could do is redirect the question and say, you know, as the mayor of LA, I am deeply saddened by what has happened. And I've returned home from my trip in Africa to be here to comfort those who are hurting right now. We send out our thoughts because, you know, they don't pray. We send out our thoughts and well wishes to those who are hurting and who've lost their homes in this hour. And we just ask that you give us time to dissect what has happened. And we will report back to you when we've had an opportunity to assess the situation on the ground. Thank you. She could have said that. She could have said that. She didn't even say that. Like, he's asking her, ma'am, do you have anything to say? Why were you on vacay? She's just blinking, just blinking, looking in the camera, looking stupid. When you adopt this liberal leftist mindset, and this is not enough to red pill you to be like, you know what, this is stupid. This is stupid and this is unsustainable. You get what you deserve. Because California had the option to recall Gavin Newsom. And you know what they did? They voted for him anyway. They could have had Larry Elder. Larry Elder ran against Gavin Newsom in a recall. Those people don't want better. They like their leftism. And now they have to eat the results of their leftism. And I feel bad because there are individuals who live in California that did not want this. But they have to suffer and deal with the consequences of the overwhelming majority of people who are too brain dead to know that this is bad. This leadership is bad. That state, one of the most beautiful states in the union, destroyed. San Francisco, horrible. LA, don't nobody want to go unless you want to walk in, step foot in a pile of boo-boo. Mayor Bass, trash. Mayor of San Francisco, trash. All of these leaders have one thing in common. They're all leftists, far left progressives who cannot lead, who take your tax money, bankrupt you, and leave you with the pieces. And there's a thought or a rumor that Gavin Newsom might actually run for president. Listen, the Democrats are already down bad. But if they nominate, like if he wins the Democratic nomination for 2028, there's no way he's going to win. But it would just demonstrate that the Democrats, they really like to implode from the inside out. I'm sorry. In my opinion, they are thoroughly committed to chaos and destruction. The policies that they implement reflect this. Because like I said, if they are given the option to, I understand climate change activists, that you matter, but if we don't clear this brush out, when a fire is set ablaze, and it will, it's going to cause massive destruction and devastation and a whole lot of money that we don't have because we're already operating in a deficit. So we have to do this for the greater good. We will still listen and acknowledge your climate agenda, but we can't prioritize that right now. Nope, that's not what they do. They prioritize the climate agenda. They prioritize the sexual perversion and all of this LGBT rainbow cult allegiance stuff. They prioritize everything else other than what matters. And the American California taxpayer is left holding the bag and the ashes. This sucks. I feel bad, but this is the DEI dumbness that you have to live under when you see the world in constructs and categories and you're not interested in hiring those who are competent and who've demonstrated an ability to lead and to get a job done. Because my thing is, what have they been doing all this time? But quit lying to the American people as if this just happened and that the leadership in California is just doing the best that they can, when it's not like they weren't warned in advance. It's not like the fire department cut funding for key aspects of leadership that could have dealt with this problem, but instead they were focused on making sure that they hire a whole bunch of lesbians. Like, I've never seen so much foolishness in my life. I don't understand how who you sleep with is an indicator that you do your job well. Why do you need to come to work to announce that you are the first lesbian fire chief or department head or supervisor? Like, that's like me going to work. I can't even find a heterosexual equivalent to that. How does that have anything to do with your ability to do your job? It doesn't. But for whatever reason, the left loves to celebrate these debaucherous categories and constructs and insert them into places of government and politics and education. And the only explanation I can give for it is because they're just a bunch of freak nasty diddycrats. And they're not interested in governing. They're interested in pushing more sexual perversion and debauchery and reveling in it. And just, they don't care that the American people under their leadership who could care less about any of those things, they don't care that those people are hurting and suffering. As long as they just get to celebrate and wave their rainbow trans flags and dress in their costumes and just be freak nasty, who cares if the country burns down? They don't care. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the Standard of Truth podcast. If you've enjoyed today's conversation, don't forget to check out the Standard Home and Living lifestyle store at standardhomeandliving.com. We've got everything from book studies, journals, and even podcast merch, so you can take a piece of this conversation with you wherever you go. And of course, be sure to follow me on Facebook, X, Instagram, and TikTok for more updates, behind the scenes, and daily insights. You can also stay connected at thestandardofTruthpodcast.com, where you'll find all the latest news and events, including live events coming to a town near you. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. Until next time, keep standing firm in the truth. Grace and peace.